Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy, it's a pleasure. It's always my honor to be greeting you and bringing this message of emancipation to you, whereby I'm pointing you to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. That's the reason why I want to speak to you today concerning the awakening and how you need to wake up and to arise from the dead, and what it means to be asleep, and what it really means to be dead. Now, it is said in Ephesians chapter 5, I believe it's verses 14, that awake, thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and Christ shall give thee light. Now, God is light. And when you understand that God is light, you realize that that light is the life within you. So God is life and God is light. And as I always teach you, without the sun, as in the S-U-N, there is no life and there is no light. So the Bible is actually the sun book, as in the S-U-N. But let me just lay the foundation of my teaching for you. If this is the very first time that you listen to me, I want you to know that the Bible addresses the human mind and must be interpreted psychologically. For the Bible is not literal, neither is it secular history, and it was written symbolically, and it have no reference to anyone who existed thousands of years ago or to any actual event that would have taken place on earth thousands of years ago. From the beginning to the ending of the Bible, it's all a great psychological drama, and it all have to do with the human psyche. So when it speaks of being awake, one of the very first thing you need to know is that you were born here in amnesia, which is a state of forgetfulness. Therefore, when it says in the Bible that all were born in sin and shaped in iniquity, it is speaking of being born in a state of not knowing who you are. So sin is ignorance. So there's only one fundamental sin in this world, and that fundamental sin is not knowing who you are. So because you do not know who you are, you're still asleep. It means that you haven't wake out of the dream to discover that this life, that it's all a dream, and this world, this physical world that you're seeing, that it is not really solid. It's imaginary. And when you understand also that amnesia is the sleep of death, it is what we refer to as death, you will realize also that a birth and a death is basically the same thing. For you cannot die unless you live. You have to first live in order to experience death. So people would rejoice at a birth and they will become sorrowful at a death because they do not understand death. They do not understand that real death is when you live in a world as a living dead, not knowing who you are. That's real death. That state of forgetfulness. You're still living in that realm, whereby you still believe everything that was taught to you from your parents up to this day. Your teachers, your ministers of religion, you still believe what they teach would have taught you, and you have never think a day in your life for your own self. That is living in death. That is you still being asleep. Because remember, it's all about the mind. So unless you allow your mind to soar and to vibrate beyond what you've been programmed to believe, you're still fast asleep. You're still dead in your ignorance. And it is said here in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 14, that it is only until you receive the light from your Christ self, your higher self, that recognition, that insight, that perception, seeing things from a different angle, seeing things different from how the world or the matrix has programmed you to think. It is only until you receive that light that you will be able to awake, that you'll be able to see the way or find the way. It is the only how you will realize the mystery of death and life. It is the only how you'll be able to understand your existence. So it is saying here that there comes a time that you must arise from the dead. There comes a time that you must seek the resurrection, that you must seek to wake up, that you must ask yourself questions that will help you to get out of the programming. Like, for example, there's a lot of things been happening quite lately with the COVID-19 and with this whole vaccination programming thing. And there have never been any recorded COVID-19 in my country, except for those that was imported, where people come through the airport from foreign countries and so on, and they claim that they were tested positive and so on. And then they allow the people to do everything as usual. And then just as they say that they find some sort of vaccination, then all of a sudden you start hearing people in the island who have never gone anywhere, who have never traveled, now that they have the virus. At this time, when also our country is in a place whereby they can expect any time from now a volcanic eruption, because the volcano is very much active right now and is oozing out magma. And just recently, they had started this geothermal program in my country. And I've been saying to people, why in a tropical country like this, what they refer to as a third world country, why would the white man want to come into this country to do geothermal exploration, and why the people are just allowing it and thinking that they're going to get cheaper electricity when their body itself is electrical and magnetic, and they're electrical and magnetic being, and that it will bring a curse upon them instead of a blessing, because a real true blessing is you understanding and you know exactly who you are and know that you are the power, you are the light. And all you have to do is just raise your frequency to deal with the system and the bills that they would levy upon you. Okay? And many people laugh at me. Many people think I'm crazy. I feel foolishness. You're going to ease the pain on people and all of these things. And then the people, the old geothermal program failed. And they never really report and tell the people why it failed and so on. And these white men, they take all the equipment and they leave. Now you're facing eruption, and we have the third largest active volcano in the world, and there's a small island with just over 120,000 people. Okay, and I'm saying all of this to show you what is really taking place. And then now you hear they start saying now that there's so much people in the island who have the COVID-19, yet they've never gone anywhere. They have no report of them being with people who were positive and all of these things. And I mean, you have to be blind. You have to be asleep, right? Not to see these things and see that this is something that's been put in place to keep the people from awaking, to keep the people from waking up. Anyone with common sense will see that everything that's been done in this time is to keep the people programmed. is to keep the people on low frequency. And I can see it. And I can see it clearly. Just recently, there was a tornado in the island of Barbados. And some religious person was saying, we live in the last days, repent. It's all fucking foolishness. It's all bullshit. So they're doing all of these things to cultivate more religious belief because of the energy of fear. So they're going to talk bullshit. Like, for example, in my country, I want to believe there are people who are going to say, okay, let's have a day of prayer. What the fuck? They've been praying for years upon years. I'm praying to this fucking God in the sky. I'm praying to this Jesus with no answer. And they've been getting the same thing over and over. And they haven't seen no change. And they're still doing the same thing over and over and over. That's craziness. That's madness. But yeah, when you're saying that people must embrace change and do different things in their life, so they see things in a different way, then they will brand you as the one who's crazy. So, my brother and my sisters, my encouragement to you is to awake from that sleep. It is time to wake up. Arise from the dead. Stop being a living dead. They put so much things to distract you and to keep you looking on this physical 3D world and its system that will make you forget about who you are and the power that you have and how powerful you are. And that is why I'm encouraging you to seek the light that is within you. For the sun, as in the sun, it all parallels the human imagination, and the human imagination parallels the sun. Without the sun, there can be no life and there can be no light. And without the human imagination, there can never be anything made that was made, or anything that ever going to be made. It must first be imagined. It must first be an idea. It must first be mental or psychological. Therefore, my brothers and my sisters, look to the sun. The sun is what puts you to sleep, and the sun will wake you up. The sun is what provides everything for you. And when you understand the sun in you, you'll understand also that there's no way in this world that S-O-N could be the light of the world. And not too far from where I'm living here, there's a church with a cross that says Jesus Christ is the light of the world. How could a S-O-N be the light of the world when a S-O-N can never exist unless there first be the S-U-N? How could a S-O-N create the S-U-N? Basic common sense. So they give the people the S-O-N to believe in and keep them still asleep instead of the S-U-N. That's why I provided you the Bible without any Jesus in it. The 66 books of magic, the Overcomer's Bible. You have to overcome by waking up. You have to overcome from getting out of the sleep and seek that light from your Christ self. That's why you have to accept yourself and believe in yourself. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do in 2021, because they're gonna do everything in their powers to get you to take that vaccination. Right now in my country, they're saying that you can't come into the supermarket, you can't go to the stores unless you have a mask. That's the very first step. The next step would be the vaccination, and they're going to make sure to do certain things to damage the outer economy. And if you look into the outer economy as that place of safety, and you forget that your real economy is inwardly, and you have to look inwardly because your real currency is your thought frequency, then you will get trapped. And you'll be living your life in a pity party, feeling sorry for yourself. But I'm saying to you that there is hope, and that you need to awake from the sleep, thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead. And let your Christ self, your higher self, your true self, give you that light, that insight. So with that being said, my brother, my sisters, I hope what I've been saying really makes sense to you. I'm saying to you, it's time to wake up. It's time to believe in yourself and to trust your imagination. Put your imagination to work for you, because imagination is God in man. So if this is the very first time that you're listening to me and what I'm saying, it really resonating with you, is helping you in any way, and you haven't subscribed already, I would like to encourage you to subscribe, to like, to comment, or to share this video. But just before I leave, I just want to remind you that this message I bring to you, that it is the single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says that if your eye be single, your whole body be full of light. And truly, when my whole body was filled with light, it was when that single eye awakes within me, and I wake from the dream of life and change from mortal to immortality in a twinkling of an eye, after what I've heard the unearthly wind, and after that great and mighty shaking, where I ascend like a fiery being and burst my crown chakra came out of my skull, and understand the resurrection, and understand the virgin birth, and understand that my body is the tomb and my skull is Golgotha. Hadn't it been for that experience, I wouldn't have been here bringing this message to you, saying to you that the sun, as in the sun, parallels the human imagination, the human imagination parallels the sun. For when you have this experience, you will realize that it is the rising of the sun in a son, and it is the dawning of a new day in your life. And as the sun parallels the human imagination parallels the sun, so too you are told in Psalms 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and no good thing will he withhold from you. And common sense will teach you that the sun has never withhold any good thing from you, for the sun is what powers all of humanity and give all of humanity its energy. That's the reason why it is told in Malachi chapter 4 verses 2 that the Son of Righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. And truly, when the Son has risen in me, I'm bringing healing to all of humanity, pointing each and every one to look inwardly to discover that their real identity is their divinity, and to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your God power, your creative power, which is actually the sexual power. Use that power to achieve your every desire. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you, I'm out.